Yeah, how's it going, everyone? So I've been meaning to do this for a couple days here, and what I'm trying to do is just analyze a couple stores. So what I'm looking at is kind of how to build the knowledge graph in different ways and add on to it. One of the ways that we do that is with FAQ pages, answering questions on Google Business Profile, but they had switched a while ago to where you ask questions on the maps area. So some dealers, when you go to their Google Maps, I noticed, you could ask a question, but majority of the dealers that I've gone to, you can't really ask the question to the dealer. It used to be you asked it to the dealer, to the community on Google. But now when you go to the Maps page, this interesting thing happens. So I go on Maps, and right now I'm looking at my friend Joe Fasanella's store. I believe this is his store in Seattle. So he's at a Mercedes-Benz store here. Um, and as I scroll down the Maps side, it said, ask Maps about this place. New. What do you want to know? So what do I want to know? Do you buy cars? Question mark. So it looks like AI. So yes, this location sells new and certified pre-owned cars. Well, that wasn't my question. Will you buy my car? There's not enough information about this place to answer your question, but you can try asking another question. So with generative SEO, with brand theater, with all things reputation wise, with answering reviews, and not just on Google, but everywhere about you, with customer testimonials on your website. So when you look at all the citations and all the things that the large language models and AI products and search is using to say, you're the answer, you're the truth. Here's a prime situation with this dealership is not generative SEO optimized. They haven't built up their brand theater. You have 4.2 rating. That's average. Actually, it's below average. Really, average is about 4 or 5. Good is, great is anything above a 4.7. Let's put it that way. Good is probably 4.5. 4.2 to me is garbage. So sorry, Joe, but that's how I feel about this particular dealership's Google reviews. 3,200 of them, though. But the realistic standpoint is that, are there current reviews and are there answers? But just, there's your Google business profile that we see a lot during search. But when people click on the maps side of it, there's a whole nother area of your Google business profile. And like I said, there's an area that's titled Ask Maps About This Place. It's new. And that is Gemini powered. So Gemini, which powers Google search now, is going to go and research the internet, specifically your website, your Google business page. But when I previously did this for another store, it said I could not find any information about this dealership. But on their Facebook page, get that, Gemini was indexing Facebook and Instagram pages and saying, but on their Facebook page, it states that they do buy cars. In fact, it said they pay top dollar. So I thought that was cute that Gemini had gone out, searched the internet, couldn't find enough information on the Google business page, anywhere on the website that was technically, done properly, because sometimes we think that a page that is on a scripting code that's kind of dropped in or framed in on your website, and it's a widget from KBB and it says we buy cars, and that's great for the consumer standpoint. But what's not great is that maybe that page isn't optimized from a generative SEO standpoint, stating that you're the authority in a 5 mile area of someone that buys cars. So, have 5 people go to ChatGPT and ask a question: what dealer near me buys used cars? Where can I sell my car at locally? What car dealership can I sell my dealership to locally? And you're going to get probably 5 different answers if 5 different people ask that. So, okay, so that was search number 1. Sorry, my friend Joe. Didn't mean to abuse you. But let's go to Horn. This is Horn Kia Gilbert. So my friend April, um, she has a wonderful marketing department, SEO department, right? They do a good job, and everybody's trying to keep up with Google and all the AI changes, right? So, okay, we went to the Google page. We looked that up first. After we found the Google page, we went to the top of Google. We clicked on Maps, and we're going to pull this up and see if her store. Okay, ask Maps about this place. What do you want to know? Will you buy my car outright? The world is about long-tailed keywords, and it's about conversational SEO, conversations that give you the answer. Yes, Horn Kia buys used cars. However, some reviewers say they were dissatisfied with the service and price, and below it is a couple of reviews. Remember, guys, it takes 7 positive reviews to negate 1 negative one, but about the same topic every 30 days with an answer. So your relevance in reviews that can change to this opinion with AI or a person's opinion, because this is an AI being Gemini that's acting as a persona for on the customer's behalf, researching you. So it's saying, yes, Horn Kia buys used cars. However, some reviewers say they were dissatisfied. So in that situation, what are you going to do? They buy cars, but maybe I need to keep shopping around because they're a hassle. Knowing that particular person there and the people and the kind of group they are, they're a wonderful group. But a couple negative experiences from a year ago are stating in the reviews that no, this is not a good place maybe to sell my car to. So let's ask another question. Do you fix transmissions? And I have a list of questions that I could ask. Yes, Horn Kia offers maintenance and repair services. One reviewer mentioned that they brought their car in for a transmission problem, but they were pressured to replace the entire transmissions instead of getting a flush. The reviewer also reported having trouble getting their car back after they took it to a different mechanic. Okay, so 2 years ago, ironically, I was on a podcast this morning that I got into, talked into hosting today, only because the people that normally host the room, who are wonderful people, their schedules got conflicted. And me being in the crossroads of my career and just consulting for dealers and not normally wearing my marketing director hat or my used car director hat or whatever BDC director hat or other role you want to give me that year, I'm not doing it. But being that we were talking with Matt Copley and Michael Larkin and some other people, we talked about the simple fact that AI is looking at all reviews. Now, of course, current ones can influence and change the answer, but here's another situation where generative SEO could have came in, wrote some FAQs, wrote some testimonial pages, talked about the great service, additional reviews. We could have worked with the brand theater, talked about the wonderful experience of what we do when we inspect a vehicle for a transmission. What's the process? How do we check that? And we would take one of our certified technicians who actually holds like a master class and explains to people how we go about diagnosing that car, how we put it on a lift, how we inspect it, how we look visually for leaks. But then we're also going to drain different things and look at the color of the fluid. And again, I'm just talking out of my butt here. This is just what people have explained to me. But a customer is looking for the truth and validation points. They need a trusted service writer and maybe a trusted mechanic who they both, or the service manager, take the time to do a service walk around of what needs to be repaired of that vehicle. I think they call this an active reception, I think is what Chris Collins used to call it. But again, I don't mean to name drop, but the bottom line is I asked a question and it gave me an answer that I don't think is the exact answer that I want customers to feel about me. But this is AI giving me a pulse and saying, this is opportunity. So being the positive person I am, and anytime I get a negative situation, I turn it into a positive. I might be a jerk, calling somebody about it, which I've been known to be called. In fact, last night I was called a four-letter word that probably wasn't appropriate from a certain rep because their trade-in tool didn't act properly. But that being said, let's go on to the next store and let's see who else I have up. Who's up next? Port Orchard Ford. I believe this is one of my friend Shane Wood. I believe this is his website. I know he's just started down the road of generative SEO. I've yet to kind of talk to him about brand theater and how, things that I do could help him there. But the bottom line is, we're looking at maps, right? And we're going to go to our Google Maps. We're going to see a version of our Google business page, right? So everything looks good there. It looks like that might be a direct number instead of a tracking number. So you might get some mixed qualifying or quantifying numbers as far as on your calls, and hopefully they're recorded. But it looks like a direct number. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a vanity number, but you should always, I know Google went around a couple of years ago and said, hey, don't put tracking numbers here. We want your real number. Well, how are you going to quantify how many calls you got? Are you just going to trust what Google tells you? Because sometimes we need a tracking number there to kind of say, hey, this came from Google. Our ad spend's working. Is our organic spend's working? But we still want to record that call. We still want to be able to share our notes. And if we have an AI tool that analyzes, that's great. But we cannot rely on AI always giving the right answer, because in general, most car dealerships are good people, right? And we love our customers. They're the star of our show, as along with our salespeople are our stars. Our customers are really our guest stars. So they're a special part of our business. They're our lifeblood. But so are our people. So, we need to think about how our people represented us, how we train them, and not really train, that's probably a bad word, how we coach them is a better word. So reviews are a big deal, right? Reviews are everything right now. Social media is everything. Being the answer, having testimonials, there's so many little bit more details than we never had to think about before. That's because AI didn't expose this like the way it is today. All those people that said they were doing SEO, they weren't really doing SEO, are exposed today. All those people that really weren't doing a good job at certain things are getting exposed. So sure, you don't like technology. Hey, it may be costing churn, but there are tools that do help you. In this situation, though, you have AI, which is Gemini, that's going to answer this question. So I'm going to ask this dealer, Port Orchard, who has a wonderful Google rating, by the way, do you buy cars? So I'm going to simplify that. We may ask this a couple different ways, though, to get the answer. Yes, the new and used car dealerships specialize in Ford vehicles. Some reviewers say they have had a good experience buying a car here. One review, however, says they purchased a used car that wasn't very clean. Now, that's a weird situation, right? It's giving me an answer, but it didn't give me the answer. It just got me an answer because it got me an answer. It did not answer the question, though. The question was, do you buy cars? Let's change the question. Can I sell you my car? Yes, they can buy your car. One reviewer said they sold their Subaru here and that the process was fair and reasonable. That's great. But you could see, like with AI, like with a customer, there's no really guessing here, only a moment of truth that says, here is the answer. But keep in mind, AI will sometimes make up an answer because its job is to create human-to-human connection. The next job is to just get you the answer to your question, even if it has to use synthetic data or hallucinate to do it. So here's a situation. it did answer my question. It did say a customer had a good positive experience. I would just say the more of those that you get, the better off you are. But then again, here's a dealer that just started maybe a month, 2 months ago with their generative SEO, and they're already starting to see results. So the AI is starting to learn. So you can create all these AI agents and do all these great things, but remember that AI is learning you and it's learning about that business, that location. In this situation, Gemini is acting as my persona and answering my question. So next victim, let's see how they do. So Port Orchard did a good job from a generative SEO. So we're going to go with BMW of Oak Brook. So that's not BMW. It was actually Laurel, if I remember correct. So we're going to say Laurel BMW. And so Laurel BMW of Westmont. Let's hit maps. Let's find them. So there's a sponsored ad that popped up. That was interesting, right? So BMW Elmhurst popped up. All right. Well, I was looking for Laurel BMW of Westmont. So I got them open. And again, I'm not sure if that's a tracking number or not, but okay. I'm going to ask Maps a question. Do you buy cars off the street? Got a little bit more complex there. And maybe that's not something it's going to read. Yes, they buy cars off the street. The process takes about 5 minutes to complete, including providing the vehicle's VIN and license plate number, as well as mileage, color, and physical condition. A certified offer is valid for 7 days or 500 miles and can be used at any of the Westmont, Illinois locations, or can be used at, and I don't know that that sounds right because I don't know, do they have more than just BMW there? Maybe they have Mercedes. But I know that they don't have Acura there. I know that Toyota is a Rohrman store in the same block on Ogden, so I'm not sure about that answer, but that's okay. It's basing it on something from 3 years ago about the process, and you can kind of see. But excellent that AI, Gemini, went out and answered that question. Now, I got a little bit deeper when I said off the street. So, can I sell you my car? And again, you have to inspect what you expect, right? So they'll buy your car and give you a certified offer in about 30 minutes. Last time said it took me 5 minutes to fill out something. Now it's 30 minutes. Good for 7 days. It sounds like KBB ICO. Usually AccuTrade, I think, is 5 days, but I could be wrong. The offer can be deposited as cash at the dealership. The offer can be deposited as cash at the dealership. Some reviewers say they're knowledgeable and pay fair prices. Okay, in general, not bad. It's getting from a couple of reviews, and you can see how Google reviews are populating this. Now, again, reviews are everything, but so are testimonials, so are FAQ page, so is generative SEO, so is your brand theater, which is social storytelling, and not just on Facebook, on everywhere. Now, reviews technically are in general social, okay, because people are socially talking. But let's just say that's reputation, right? So all of these things go together again to form the knowledge graph, and that knowledge graph gives Google the ability to say, hey, these are the authority and here's the answer. And then Google nicely tells you what it's basing this on. So overall, what was so wonderful about them? Well, it passed, right? It gave us an answer. So, there are 4.5, 3,500 reviews. 4.5 is not really good. It's not terrible. I mean, I've seen worse. So let's try the next victim here and see how this goes. Naperville Toyota. So I believe that's the Wolf family that owns this location. pretty close to my house, a 4.8. So the reviews are awesome. 6,500. I believe my friend Dave Brooker's one of the used car managers or a used car manager. I'm not sure how many they have, but a very busy place. Seemed to be hopping the last time I walked in there. So I'm going to hit maps. Normally, Naperville dealerships are pretty busy. It's just the population. And not only is it a destination town for restaurants, but it's a destination town for dealerships. I was amazed at how many Mazdas the Napleton Mazda store sells in Naperville when I saw that stat the other day. So let's look at this. 4.8, we know they got great reviews, right? But let's see how well it's indexed if they buy a car. Will you buy my car outright? There's not enough information about this place to answer your question. So, here's a situation where they have excellent reviews, not enough socially about this, right? Not their page isn't indexing real well for their KBV, but it's really probably not pulling from there because when you notice in the last couple dealers maps page that we went to when we asked this question, they were basing it on Google. Now, again, don't be surprised though if an AI will base it upon a testimonial, a YouTube video, it could be an OTT commercial, but it could definitely be a Facebook page or an Instagram, or even sometimes a Yelp review may impact it. So anywhere that you could tell the truth and you can get somebody to recommend you is positive. But here's a situation where it doesn't know that they buy cars outright. So if I was a customer and I'm working with Gemini, that's one thing. But if I'm asking a different large language model, it may say they don't buy cars outright, which based on this answer, you would probably not get, selected. So let's say I'm going to ask it a different question. Do you buy cars outright from customers? You see the thing with long-tailed keywords in conversations? So I'm having a conversation with an AI. Now on my phone, I can click this and I can actually just talk. I believe I can do this on my iPad too, but I like typing, right? Not really. It looks like there isn't much information about whether they can buy cars from customers. However, they do offer discounts to customers who buy new or certified used vehicles. Okay, so you give good deals, but it doesn't know. So maybe I don't trust you, right? So I'm going to land my plane here, but you have to think about this. If an AI, and let's say hypothetically 30% of the population is taking a deep funnel journey, asking AI questions, we're having conversations. And let's say they speak to each other. So let's say a Gemini speaks with a couple other AIs. Let's say Gronk and Gemini are dating. Not really. But let's say they spoke to each other and it shared data. And it shared data to most things and it suddenly got indexed. Okay. Well, they're usually going to come down to indexing stuff on your website, such as FAQs, testimonial pages, having the right header tags. And it gets very technical. But the average SEO person, it isn't that they're failing their job. It's just in today's technology and the speed that we can write stuff is the speed that it can check stuff. So you can go and you can create a response to a review, or you can create a response to a customer in a chat GPT or any tool in a matter of seconds, right? Well, it can also check to see if you're valid, to see if you have duplicate contact, to see if you're the trusted resource within 5 miles of the location. And it'll also know my individual habits and what I like, right? So Gemini as a persona, or any shopping persona, has the best interest for the consumer. It doesn't have the dealer's best interest, not until they become more of a pay for play area. Then it'll get skewed even more. But as of right now, though, I've asked this question and it didn't give me an answer. So, I'm going to ask another question. Do you fix transmissions? I like transmissions. Yes, they do offer transmission-related services according to Toyota of Naperville.com. These may include service repairs, fluid exchange, and fluid checks and replacements. One reviewer mentioned that they were charged $10,000 for a transmission repair and expressed frustration when the service they received. Wow. So, what do we learn here? AI is going a little bit deeper than what they thought. And if that review can be found by Gemini, who is a great AI, but I don't think it's the best one. I always struggle with this because I use about a dozen different type of AIs for different research tools to help the different dealers I work with, so that I can find out things like this and figure out the data points as to how I can combat this online on their behalf. And this is something I do from the social, the reputation side, and just overall in consulting. But it's because I've been a variable manager for years and I've worked on the marketing side as well, and I understand the vendor world. The reason I got into marketing simply is because as a used car manager, director, GM, all those great titles, but the problem on the variable side is we didn't communicate, especially on the fixed side, with all of our marketing people, and we didn't know how to quantify things and what actually triggered. A lot of things were just based on hopes, bullshit, and dreams. And everybody is the best product gets you the best engagement, the best amount of leads, right? But if we ever thought about it, if we ever got all these leads that they tell us we're getting, how come we're not selling 10,000 cars a month? But in this situation, this customer, whoever they were that reviewed 5 months ago, is telling his story, and that they were charged 10,000 for a transmission repair, and they expressed some frustration. So yes, I found a dealer that fixes transmissions. Does that give them a beacon of trust? Well, we know that this dealer has a wonderful amount of reviews. They have 6,500. And we know that things change in perception based on customers every 30 days. Now, this is 5 months ago, and it's probably pretty low on the scale where people probably wouldn't scroll to this. But on Google, you can look for the lowest rating. And now a consumer can ask a question. And in the past, the dealer would answer it, or the community. Anybody can answer Google questions on your Google business page. Most dealers just never ever thought about it, right? They didn't think that they could build their reputation and knowledge base from this because they're SEO people and the dealers just, they're too busy, right? Well, now you can't be too busy. You have to focus on little details. Okay. So AI is empowering you to be better, but AI is also exposing you to say you suck. So if you're a car dealer, who I know of Toyota Naperville being one of the best Toyota dealers in the area, and I'm not just saying that, they do some wonderful things for the community for years, right? And I have friends there. So that being said, this is a friend that I have to print this out and say, hey man, you guys need to work on this. And I hope that their marketing people, or I hope they, talk to a customer or talk to a vendor like One Keel, who is a full service generative SEO company. Not that there isn't some other great SEO companies. I mean, my friend Matt and my friend Michael, they both do wonderful things for SEO. I'm just saying that there's different products that work for different people, and different levels and scope of people that you have working for you that can utilize those tools. If you're looking for something that's efficient that understands generative SEO, you start with a One Keel. If you're looking to build your brand theater, then you just call me and I'll guide you through that if you have the staff to do it. If not, my wife and I, we both do those type of things. And then we have a couple other employees that work with us, and we work with them that we could, you know, help you with your social media and building your brand theater, and kind of work as your kind of fractional CMO to kind of help you understand the digital world and what's going on with AI. So many dealers want to get an AI and they think they know it and they think they have trusted resources. But, what I've noticed is that a lot of things that are fixing are not really fixing. They're causing more churn. And then you realize and become frustrated as car dealers is it doesn't really do as much as people are saying that it does. it's still the same old issue because we didn't inspect the process. So here's the situation. I mean, it's your Google business listing, it's free, right? But do we spend the time to optimize them correctly? Do we answer these questions? Do we ask questions? Do we build the answers so that things like this don't come up? Now, I'm all for transparent reviews. If this is somebody's opinion, that's fine. But you need to look at that review and you need to decide, hey, was it worth it to have this disconnect? Does the owner even know? And should he have talked to them and fixed it? Because you have to wonder, how much business does this cost me that I'm not getting because of something like this? And now AI is impacting it that much further. So I'm going to land my plane here, but thank you for listening to me ramble. I just wanted people to know that there is another thing that we need to think about, and most dealers don't. Um, and I'll give you a bigger tip of the day. 95% of all Google business pages has an area in the past where you just click on a link and it takes you to your service page for scheduling. However, due to updates, 95% of dealers have no freaking link anymore that goes to your scheduling page. It just goes to your website, which is fine if you want to create engagement, have somebody work and click through it. But wouldn't it be wonderful if you clicked the button and it actually took you right to the scheduling page? Wouldn't it be wonderful when you got to that scheduling page that your own personal agent recognizes you and says, hey, I see you're back. Are you scheduling your Jeep, Wrangler for service today? Yes. How can I help you? Were you looking? It does look like in your records that it's time to get an oil change. Were you looking to schedule an oil change? And what else could I help you with? So, I mean, thinking about customer experience and making it easy for them is wonderful. But always, if you build that type of AI, have the ability so that a customer could then get out of the loop and talk to a real person. I get when it's after hours or before hours, okay? But during the day, someone has a real question, it needs to be accessible. And technically, like chat with Carnow and Gubagoo had for years, the wonderful thing is that when it's having those conversations, you could jump in and rescue that conversation and talk to the customer. So you could say, hey, Dave is entering the conversation. And it's like, hi, I'm an actual rep here. I see that you had some questions and our, virtual assistant was maybe having a little bit of trouble answering for you, but I'm here to help you. So how can I help you? And again, maybe that's not the right word track. Okay. But I'm just saying that these are things to pay attention to. Your Google business page has a lot to do with your dealer's success. You just have to think outside the box and make sure that you're answering the right questions there. So if you get into a problem, you don't have time to check it, again, reach out and I'll be happy to help you out. Have a wonderful day.